Hey everybody, welcome to another Couch Worship. We've been doing this for a while now, but I have special guest today. Megan Oldfield is joining me today, and she is a gifted writer, gifted worship leader, mom, and devoted wife, and she's also a homeschooling teacher. She teaches at home, and that's some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So yeah, anything you want to say before we get going here?
Yeah, I noticed that you didn't say gifted mother. You said gifted writer, gifted
Gifted,
and then you dropped the gifted
I'll leave
right
that for
before
your kids.
mother.
I'll leave your kids to say that. They need to verify that. So no, I'm sure
Okay.
gifted mother and gifted wife, but I'll leave that for Scotty as well. All right, we're gonna start off with a great song called "Who You Say I Am." So we're gonna sing that together. All right. Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me. His love for me. Who the sun sets free. Oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me. His blood is deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. The sun sets free. Oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Father's house is my Father's house. There's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Yes, I am. I am who you say I am. Who the sun sets free. Oh, he's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. My Father's house. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Good start. Good start. Yeah. That was a good one to start with. Just reminding us who we are is defined by who God says we are. But wanted to talk about homeschooling. That's something that I asked you kind of what you want to talk about, and you talked about homeschooling because it seems to be something that people are asking about today. So why don't you tell me just a little bit how you got into homeschooling, what the situation was like, and yeah, we'll go from there.
So, homeschooling is definitely a topic that, it's a definite on a lot of people's minds, and it would be on my mind whether we were in a pandemic or not, because I do homeschool. I would still be homeschooling my son this year. But because of so many schools kind of reopening and having just various kinds of plans, and parents are considering those. They're also considering homeschooling. So anyway, I figured that's why I wanted to talk about it. So my background though, is we were actually in a very similar situation. Not that there was a global pandemic at the time,
Right.
but our district was, and we were in this district in Danville at the time, and they were also going through another major shift, a change in buildings. They were going to be moving students and age groups all around, and that also paired with my oldest daughter, who is now 19, but at the time she was just finishing second grade, and I had noticed some things about her that I don't know that concerned me, but kind of she would draw every day after school, every day,
Nice.
no fail. She would draw a picture, and I started to notice that she stopped doing that. And if you know my daughter, you know how that's odd.
Yeah,
because
quite
she
the artist,
draws,
yes.
she
On
draws
phone
all the
time.
time.
Yeah.
So she stopped doing that, and I noticed that her natural curiosity was dipping, and she was just,
Sure.
And so I thought, well, if there were ever a time for me to jump into homeschooling, because I'd always kind of considered it,
Cool. Yeah.
but just I was happy with the school district. I was happy. We lived 2 blocks from the school at the time.
Nice.
It was lovely.
Convenient.
So I figured if any year would be a good year to try it, that year would be it.
Nice.
Now, at the time, so we decided at the end of second grade to go ahead and do it. Turns out that following year that we did, I was pregnant, and I also had a preschooler. My middle child, Lila, was a preschooler, and Rainey was entering 3rd grade. So it was a bit of a
Not the easiest time.
not the easiest decision, and but we made it through.
Sure.
And I remember thinking, wow, this year was so bonkers and so weird that I'd like to give it another try. Like, let's try another year.
Sure.
And so we did, and really that's kind of how I approached homeschooling almost every year. Like, okay, we're doing it for this year. We'll see next year what happened. Like, I never said we're homeschooling from now until eternity.
Sure.
I said we're doing it for this year.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah.
and that's how I've always approached it. Year by year, we reassess, and
And it's changed for you throughout the years.
it has
You guys have-
definitely
yeah.
changed. So Rainey, so she was, I'll take you quickly through my kids. Rainey, who is 19 now, she was K1 and 2 at the public school.
Mhm.
She was homeschooled 3rd through 9th. And then 10th, 11th, and 12th, she went back to the public high school. Graduated from there, and she's now going to be a sophomore at Cornell. Then my second child, Lila, who is now 15, she was homeschooled kindergarten first. She decided she wanted to go try school in 2nd,
Cool.
mostly because she wanted to ride a bus and try the cafeteria food. That was her compelling reasons. And so she went to 2nd grade, decided that she wanted to come back home in 3rd.
Cool.
She was then homeschooled 3rd through 7th, and she's been in public 8th, 9th, and will be a sophomore in the public school next year.
Wow.
And then my youngest, good old Wesley, he has been homeschooled. Kindergarten 1st, was in school 2nd, came home 3rd, and will be in 4th, or something. Or he's kind of a combination of 4th and 5th. So
Cool.
I've
So
lost
it
track
has
of
been a
his
mix.
age.
So, yeah,
so
it's
it's been a
been
mix. No,
in and out.
no 2 years have ever looked alike.
Right.
Ever, because why would I want it to be easy and simple? No. I want to make it as complicated as possible.
Sure,
So-
sure, that's awesome. But that's good. Let's take a song break, and then we'll
Okay.
come back to this topic. I want to encourage anybody out there that's watching the stream, if you want to add a question or comment, if you have a question for Megan to answer. We also homeschool. My wife homeschools. Our kids are, I believe, going into 2nd grade and
It's hard to keep
1st
track,
grade.
isn't it?
I know, it is, especially when I'm not the key one doing it. But and we have a preschooler as well, and we have a newborn that's about 7 months. So we're kind of in that homeschool realm too, so if you have questions that way, you can ask as well. So we're both in this homeschool realm. So let's sing this next song. This is called King of Kings, and anything you want to say about this song, Meg?
No, I just love it.
Okay, that's good. Ready, and... In the darkness, we were waiting without hope, without light. So from heaven you came running, there was mercy in your eyes. To fulfill the law and prophets, to a virgin came the word.
From the throne of endless glory
To a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father. Here we go.
For the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe. For the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored, and the Church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth the world shall not yield, shall not faint. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King. Praise forever, yeah, praise forever to the King of Kings.
Excellent one.
Boom.
Thank you. That was a good one. All right, cool. I wanted to ask you a question about homeschooling. We're talking about homeschool for those that are just tuning into our live feed. Talking about homeschooling, and I want to know, what is it that you love about homeschooling? We'll talk about the good and the bad. Let's start with
Okay.
the good. What do you love?
Because there's definitely the good and the bad.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your good days and you're gonna have your bad days. The stuff that I love about homeschooling is first and foremost probably the freedom and flexibility that I have with my time, with my kids, with the curriculum that I choose. So if one of my kids is like super duper into, let's take my son, he's super into like World War I and II, we can dive real deep into that. You
While
know?
he's passionate about it.
While
you
he's
can
passionate about it, because
go right
anybody
into it.
who's ever taught children knows that if a kid is already interested or curious or passionate about something, it's going to be that much easier to get them, whether to finish the work or, you know, stay engaged or whatever. So I love being able to choose whatever kind of follow my kids' passions. And that's another thing that I love about homeschooling is I am every bit as much a student as I am the teacher.
It is
Not
cool.
only do I learn about World War I and things that I long forgot about,
Right.
or geography. I used to be horrible at geography, but since I am making my kids study it, I too am learning it. So I become a student on what they're learning, but also I become a student of my children.
Oh, that's cool.
And there is nothing like being able to watch your kid blossom and become this learner and passionate and be able to watch their interests and hobbies and whatever just bloom in front of you. And so you really do feel this connection to your kid that's unlike anything, you know. So I just love being a student of each of my kids because they're vastly different. No two kids are alike, and especially mine. So I like being able to learn them.
That's
They're my
cool.
subjects.
And you get to kind of even like do field trips and things like that. Like you're talking about World War I. I've seen you post where you've gone to different places, things like that.
Yes. So that was another thing that I love about field trips. By and large, and my kids would probably say that this is what they love too, is because homeschooling, we don't stay home necessarily, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of people think you're home all the
Right.
time and things like that. Yeah.
Which we do spend a good amount of time at home. But we love to travel and we love to use, and we in Central PA, like we studied American history, early American history. We live in an awesome area to, you know, scoot down to Philadelphia and see, you know, the Liberty Bell or whatever, or even Harrisburg is a fantastic place. So for instance, part of the homeschooling curriculum, they require you to study Pennsylvania history. And how I like to study Pennsylvania history is by going and seeing different, like, bizarre kind of landmarks that we always pass by on the highway that you never, you know, like the Priestley House, or, you know, just old furnaces or whatever. There's so many places in PA that you can just go for the day. Daniel Boone's homestead. Like, we just go and find the most obscure places.
Cool.
And go there and usually get ice cream on the way back. So that's also like,
Yeah.
but field trips by and large are my favorite, because I get out of the house.
Right.
And my kids just come alive. It makes
Sure.
You're experiencing it's living history. You're standing where something happened, or experimenting with science in person.
Right.
So
right.
anyway.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Good. So a lot of it was just, like you said, getting to know your kids more personal level, being able to adapt even to them, feeding what they loved, and then and field trips. Anything else that really sticking out of the best part about homeschooling? So those are like the top two. You would say?
I mean, I love reading with my kids.
That's a big part of how we do homeschool too.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of it's just reading, right?
Yeah. Like if you did nothing else. Now I'm not advocating that you do
Sure,
nothing else,
sure.
because I think you should provide a rigorous education for your kids. But just cuddling up on the couch in front
Sure.
of a fire or on the hammock outside and reading really good books with your kids. My oldest still loves to be read to. Like not bedtime story, but I mean,
Sure.
we still engage over books. And I will never regret one single second that I spend reading to my kids.
Nice.
Never.
Yeah, I mean even
Even if I'm exhausted and don't want to do it.
sure.
I never regret afterwards.
And they can even be engaged in that reading time. They can be, especially for young kids, they can be engaged playing in play
Oh, yes.
blocks and things like that while you're reading.
Oh yeah.
It's just a neat that they're definitely taking it in. You think they're not, and they're definitely.
I had to. Rainey often would draw while I would read to her. Lila would often knit or do something with her hands, or color or something. Wes would usually be like jumping on the couch. I mean, I would try and get him to sit still, but he's a very busy boy.
Sure.
So, but he would play with magnetiles, or he would set up his little soldiers, or
Sure.
and that never bothers me because I know that they're listening, because I can
Right.
ask a question. I can stop and be like, wait, what just happened? Or what do you think will happen? And they're right
They're
there
right
on
with
it.
it. That's so cool.
Yeah, so.
Awesome. So there's some of the good things about homeschooling. We'll do another. Actually, no. Let's just jump right in. We'll do
Okay.
what is one of the hardest things? One of the hardest things about homeschooling. Let's go there.
I think one of the hardest things about homeschooling is similar to what I said before about being a student of your kids. You get to learn the good, the bad, and the ugly about yourself and your kids.
Huh.
And that's hard because you see, like, you're spending a lot of time together, like more than you ever thought possible. And so obviously you're going to be very real and raw with each other. And for somebody who's a perfectionist like me, or somebody who likes to always put my best foot forward, my best foot is not always forward in my home when I'm tired, when I'm cranky, when I've got something else in the back of my mind bugging me, and then my kids are giving me grief about their math. I mean, some stuff might come out
Sure.
of my mouth or whatever, and so you have to have kind of a reckoning with your own flaws, and that's not always fun to see. And also you see it in your children too. Now the flip side of that is that when you see that in yourself or in your children, you can then address it. Where if they're away from school for 7 hours a day, you may not see their tendency to lie or their tendency to cheat. All kids do it. They all do.
Sure.
Or whatever. You may not see it until way down the road, when maybe if you could have nipped it in the bud younger or whatever. So I have seen stuff in myself and my kids that we've been able to address and work through. We're not perfect, and there's new stuff every day that comes up.
Sure. And and speaking from a Christian perspective as well, I know you're Christian, I'm Christian as well, and being able to impart those worldviews in those moments
Right.
is really important, I think.
Often what I say to my kids is, when they see me lose my temper or say something that I regret, or even their own, sin, I can say this is why we need Jesus. Because how mommy just act, no good.
Sure.
No bueno. This is why I believe in Jesus and believe that he is the only one that can take care of that mess for me,
Yeah.
So I think that it's a gospel story happening right in your house.
Sure.
when
Yeah,
you-
we're discipling our children, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of the big part here, is we're getting to disciple them
Yeah.
and experience these hard things.
And it's messy.
And it is messy.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Very good.
I don't know if there was any other, I forget what one other thing that is difficult is, at least for me, somebody who takes this very seriously and my role very seriously, it's hard sometimes. I go to bed at night thinking, am I messing up my kids? Am I teaching them the right stuff? If they do matriculate back into the school, will they be behind? Will they be accepted? Will they,
Sure.
you know, all this kind of stuff. And I think mothers, because I can speak as a mother, tend to think about that kind of stuff. And so I have taken that role very seriously because I am responsible. I am responsible for their education. I'm not just like, we're not just blowing school off and going to Target every day. Like, I want to make sure that they're getting what they need,
Right.
although that's very tempting.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
We do sometimes do that. I take that role and their education very seriously, so I do sometimes worry a bit too much about whether I'm doing it right.
Do you find it as like a personal thing on like, I mean, do you evaluate yourself based on those things? Hello, motorcycle. Yes, we're outside. We're enjoying our time outside. So.
Get a muffler! Sorry. What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Like
Clarify.
like that that evaluating thing. Do you take it as like a personal evaluator of yourself, or like?
I do evaluate myself, but also try not to take myself too seriously. You know, I'm
Sure.
very hard on myself.
Right, and
And
that's-
so I have to back away and say, you know, ease up.
Sure.
You know, you're doing the best you can.
Right.
Or, you know, trusting that God's grace is going to meet those gaps. There's going to be, and it's just admitting, yeah, there's going to be some stuff we miss.
Right.
There's going to be, you know, Wes might not know his math facts like somebody else. You know,
Sure.
that comparison thing.
Yeah.
But trust that it's all going to be okay. You know, I
Yeah.
think if you are giving it your best shot and, you know, showing up every day,
Sure.
not just phoning it in every day, you're
Yeah.
showing up and you're doing the best that you can for your kids, I think you can rest your head on your pillow at night knowing
Nice.
it'll all work out.
And I think that's what I just I think that's the message I wanted to get out there, is that you're going to have these feelings, and just you can go to bed resting knowing that you're going to miss something, but overall,
be okay.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to work itself out.
Right.
Awesome. Speaking of which, I think this song ties in with what we're kind of talking about building our life, and building it not just on, just on education, but building it on Christ. And I think, that's something we've talked about before in our homeschooling, is that we get to build it around Christ and that worldview. So we're going to sing this new song that we've been doing. We just introduced at First Baptist, and we're going to sing that. So, all right. Cool. There we go.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you.
you,
Got a
truck,
little
for
trash
adding
can
that
with
nice
the truck in the background. I don't know
trash
if you guys-
can ending.
Yes, with the cymbal roll and everything. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, so we're winding our time up, but I wanted to ask you finally, for somebody considering homeschooling. By the way, before we even get into that, you're going to be on tonight on Facebook as like a Q&A about homeschooling. Is that right?
I am. I'm going to
Okay.
provide a Facebook Live at 7 o'clock on my personal page.
Personal page. So she's going to comment on this this video in a little bit, so you can find her if you're looking for her. You can find her, friend her, and then follow tonight for Q&A. Any questions you have, you can post them, and she'll be happy to answer them. But before we go, just as like a sneak peek of that, what are some tips for somebody considering starting out? Because this is kind of a strange time. There are a lot of people out there that are just kind of thinking about it. Tips to get started or tips going
Yes,
into it?
I had to write some down because
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts and I need to clamp it down sometimes. So a lot of times I get the comment, oh, you must be so patient. I could never homeschool because I'm not patient. And I think that people need to switch their mindset a little bit and say, I homeschool because, or I'm patient because I homeschool.
Oh, cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Homeschooling has taught me patience. I wasn't automatically a patient person. I have become more patient in the process. So if you're thinking you need to have already arrived and already, you know, be perfect and know all the answers and know all the subjects, oh my gosh. There's so much I don't know. So don't let that be a hindrance, thinking like you lack too much to start, because a lot of that, you gain confidence, you gain patience, you gain knowledge in the process of doing it.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
it is a leap of faith. There's going to be a leap involved. So if you're waiting for it to just be just another step, you're going to be waiting forever. There's going to be some scariness.
With a lot of things in life too, if you're waiting for the right moment where everything's lined up perfectly, it
Never
usually
gonna
never
happen.
comes. Right, yeah. Sometimes
Right.
it just takes taking that step. Okay.
I think also to keep in mind, especially with this situation, is homeschooling is not a death sentence. It's not permanent.
Sure.
You know, it's not saying like if you decide to do this year, you're locked in forever. Your kids are never leaving home. They're gonna homeschool through college, and then they're gonna live in your basement. So, like, it's not. You can reevaluate every year. That's what we've done every year. Sometimes day by day, I'm like, just get on a bus. I don't care what bus, just get on one. I'm done homeschooling you.
Nice.
But we do make it a commitment for the year. We're not pulling our kids in and out of school through the year.
Okay,
But
that's a
know
good
that
tip. Yeah.
just make it for this year. If you're thinking about it, do it for this year, try it.
Sure.
If it, completely blows up in your face, guess what? There's always next year.
Sure.
Like, I think also for this year, keep it simple. It's very easy. There's so many options out there.
So many options.
And it's so easy to get overwhelmed at all the choices. But
Yes.
I am homeschooling and I am planning on keeping it simple. Because you can go deeper in fewer subjects. Don't try and do handwriting, grammar, spelling, science, social studies, civics, a little bit of economics,
Wow.
maybe some band, a violin. Like, just pick. Sometimes, like, if nothing else, read to your kids and go outside for an hour.
Interesting.
Some days that's the very, very best thing that you can do.
Can I ask you about the time frame? Like, are you filling up a whole day as well?
Okay, yeah, that's also
Is that part of? I don't want to. Yeah.
No, that's
bust in
something
there.
I think what people need to do is also, school is a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Public school is a great thing. They have a way of doing things.
Right.
There's a schedule that they follow. There's a framework that they follow. Their desks are set up a certain way.
Sure.
If you're going to choose to homeschool, I think you need to get out of that mindset.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're going to keep running into things that just don't work at home. Having desks all in a row at home, maybe you have enough space in your home to do that. You know what? The living room couch is a perfect spot to do
Sure.
school.
Ours is the kitchen table.
Or a
but yeah.
kitchen table,
Yeah.
whatever. We have a space down in the basement. But honestly, it can be out on the deck, in a tree, whatever. But also the scheduling wise, get out of that mindset of like from 8 to 8:30 we're gonna do
Right.
spelling. From 8:30 to 9 we're gonna do whatever, because if that's how you're going to gauge success, you will fail from day one, because life doesn't necessarily work from 8 to 8:30. Somebody gets a phone call. Somebody throws up. The cat throws up on the floor. So now you're 15 minutes behind.
Sure.
And if you're following that rigid schedule, it just
Really throws off the day.
Yeah,
makes
it throws
really
off
hard.
the day. So do
Add
more
a pressure that you don't really need.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we follow more like routines as opposed to 20-minute.
We want to get this done today and this done and this done.
Yeah. Just a
Okay.
general move and rhythm through the day, not a rigid thing. So get out of that school mindset of
Yeah, that system.
that
system works for that system.
Right.
Yeah, and you
because you're
as a
trying to
teacher.
herd 35 kids in one classroom.
Yes.
Right.
Cool.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Other tips. Sorry.
And my last tip is really just ask for help. Ask for help. The homeschooling community, by and large, is a very helpful community. We have all stood on the backs of other people, and have all asked the same questions that you might be asking. I, at one point, had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert at homeschooling, but I'm a veteran. I've
Sure.
been there. So, rely on people that have a few more years of experience, and don't be afraid to ask. And something that somebody told me when I was just starting out, she said, God's grace will always meet you when you need it. And I thought, okay, that sounds like a churchy sort of phrase, but I knew what she meant, and I saw it in action when I would be maybe up against the wall with a kid, thinking I am not getting anywhere and I just want to lose my mind. Somebody would call me and say, hey, can I take your kids for the afternoons to give you a break? And you'd be like, oh. And that kind of stuff showed up all the time. Right when I needed it, God's grace showed up. And it will it just does. I can't explain it.
Sure.
It just does. So
The
anyway.
faithfulness of God. He meets us where we're at. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not a moment too soon. Usually, it usually
Right.
takes you to the brink.
Right.
Yes. But he'll meet
Right
us
at the
there.
cliff.
Speaking of that, I think it ties in with our song, our last song that we kind of chose
Yes.
today. Speaking of edge of cliffs and people pursuing us, a good shepherd takes care of his sheep and looks out for them. And he asks us to be shepherds of our homes as well and to look out for them. And so there's a lot of tie in here. But what would you say, especially you picked this song for today?
I did. I picked this song because a lot of people know Psalm 23 as a psalm of comfort, but I think a lot of people are feeling scared right now, in general, but also with the schooling, and they're not finding their peace. They're losing their peace, and that's a hard place to be. And I certainly feel that as well. And so this song, just knowing that you're not alone. You're not alone. A lot of others are going through it with you, but Jesus, our shepherd, he's going through it with us as well.
Sure.
And so we're not. He can comfort us. And if we just remember that and invite him into our worry and our fear and just say, okay, come comfort me today, because that's all I need, I think this song would be a good one to remember.
That's cool. Well, thanks. That's good. Let's do it. Let's do this one.
The Lord is my shepherd. He goes before me. Defender behind me. I won't fear. I'm filled with anointing. My cup's overflowing. No weapon can harm me. I won't fear. Hallelujah, I am not alone. He's my comfort, always holds me close. Oh, he guides us. He always guides me through mountains and valleys. His joy is refreshing. Restores my soul. His mercy and goodness your peace. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me. So I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me. So I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, 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 my victory. Oh, hallelujah. I am not alone.
Not alone. You are not alone.
He's my comfort, always holds me. We sing hallelujah one more time. Hallelujah, I am not alone. He's my comfort, always holds me. Yes.
Woo!
Yes, indeed.
Indeedy do.
Indeedy. All right. I'm not seeing too many questions at this point, but I do want to remind everybody about the Q&A that is happening tonight.
Tonight.
So for those interested, questioning, thoughts, considering,
I
Not
have some
even-
funny stories too.
funny stories.
I
Okay.
mean, people from our church can always count on
funny stories.
right
Yes,
from
yeah.
me.
That's part of the package. Part of the package. So that's happening tonight on your personal Facebook page. So that's Megan D. Oldfield, correct? And we're again, she's going to comment on this video on the comment
can
section
find
of it,
it.
so you can find it. It's on the original page from our Danville First Baptist. Is where the video is originally, but she'll try to post it everywhere, so you can follow that. But tune in tonight. I encourage you to do that because you know, we had lots of questions when we first started out. It's so nice just having somebody there to answer and just kind of give you the extra bump in the right direction. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Any other things on homeschooling? Any other thoughts coming to mind on that?
It'll keep you on your knees. That's it.
Keep you on your
That's
toes,
good. That's
not
where we
on your
should
toes.
be. Toes and knees.
Toes and knees.
Toes and knees.
Head, shoulders,
It's all
knees,
good.
and toes.
It's all good.
Yes. Okay. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for joining
Thanks
me
for having
today. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people out there that are thinking about this, and will encourage you in that. Again, if you have any questions, you can seek Megan, myself. There are other church people in our church that homeschool. If you're interested in them helping out as well, reach out.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's close with our benediction,
All right.
and we'll wrap up our time together. So here it goes.
May God bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you. May he guide and protect you as you go along life's way. May your brothers be righteous. May your sisters be true. May the love of the Father be the bond between you. May God bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you till we meet again. Amen.
Thanks, church, for tuning in. We'll see you next time for Couch Words.